Today we kōrero with the inspiring and legendary Greg Smith. He has been an Athlete's Life Advisor at High Performance Sport New Zealand and the Director of Wintech's Centre for Sports Science and Human Performance. Greg has been a representative coach and player for the Waikato Rugby Union, played for the Fijian International team and coached in Japan. He is also a diehard Fraser Tech stalwart. Today we kōrero with him about his resilience that was built from a young age and how it's woven through his journey, his approach to setting up strong foundations in education, his health journey, routines and habits, leading by listening and understanding, and taking deliberate action to do the doing sustainably for long-term health. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for joining us today here at the Good Day Matrix studio. We don't often get to host people here, so it's quite exciting to have you here today, Greg. We always start our interviews with a wellbeing card, and they're genuinely just trying to start better conversations. So you're running the gauntlet today, so feel free to pick the card to get us started for the day. You can read it out for us.
Okay, it's what motivates you to go to work each day?
Ooh.
Good question. I actually read that when I was flicking through the cards. It resonated with me. Look, I'm an educator. I'm a coach. I'm a developer of people. What motivates me to go to work each day is to make that little bit of difference to somebody in their day. So I'm inspired to move the needle for somebody, some way, and every day.
Every day.
So that's my little go-to every day. If I can do that to one, it's a good day. If I can do it to more, even better.
Yeah. Have you seen, this is going to be so random, I'm already off topic. Have you seen the movie Tina?
Yes.
I watched it on an aeroplane coming back from Fiji on the weekend and I cried, but that was that same stuff, right? Like,
amazing.
It's making it, she was genuinely just trying to make somebody's life better, day better, see something in themselves. And I was like, that's why I was a teacher as well. That's why you become a teacher,
It is.
to see someone differently than how they see themselves. And
it's an amazing movie. Is a little, there's a theatre, an old school theatre in Tamarua where I live. Yeah. And I went with my daughter. So there's a big theatre, there's a couple of little ones downstairs. We sat in the little ones downstairs and went to watch Tina. So my youngest daughter, Neve, and it's a sad movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so we're sitting there in our little bubbles, crying our eyes out. Yeah. And I know Neve's crying and I'm crying. Yeah. And we sort of, you're okay. But it's such
you got this, bub?
Amazing movie, and definitely the potential to make the difference in someone's life was what that was all about. Yeah. You know, the power of teaching and the power of being able to do that for somebody. Yeah. It's a powerful message.
Does Te Amotu still do halftime?
No, it doesn't. But it does old school popcorn and stuff.
Oh, cute. Yeah. I used to go there. My friends, when I was at high school, a lot of them lived over there, so we'd go to the movies over there. We did. There was halftime where the concession, you'd go out to the concession stand, get your Skittles. Yeah.
We loaded up with ice cream and popcorn before. So.
All right, Greg, tell us about you. Where do you hail from? Tell us about your whānau.
Look, I'm from the west of Hamilton. I grew up in Norton. As a kid, I went to, I guess the trifecta for us was Norton Primary, Mairo Intermediate, and Fraser High School. So I guess, but before that, how I got to be in that space was my dad's a migrant from Fiji, so he came from Fiji when he was in his early 20s. Oh, wow. At that time, New Zealand government had opened the doors up for migrants to come to New Zealand and help rebuild the country. Yeah. So he came out to Fiji. From Fiji, his family had come before him and set businesses up in Tokoroa. So he went from Singitoko in Fiji to Tokoroa. And he was a boilermaker welder. And his job was help to build the infrastructure that New Zealand was, I guess, badly needing at that time. And he was then moving around the country as a boilermaker welder. And one of the sites that he went to, he met my granddad. And my granddad took him home for a meal, and he met my mum. And so my mum she's a Bennett. She's of Welsh French extraction, and and they had then had 3 kids. And I think the project that brought my dad to Hamilton was the building of Te Rapa pools.
Oh, wow.
And so Hamilton, they came and decided to settle here.
This was the place.
Yeah, it was a place. And so I grew up in Norton Granview Road, 196 Granview Road. And that's where I guess life started for me.
Epic. I love that you know that full journey story too. You know, a lot of us don't know all of the past steps that bring our whānau to where they are. That's so cool. So how has your whānau and that culture, obviously bringing Fijian culture with him into New Zealand, you know, into his whānau, and how has that shaped you in terms of your identity and your resilience and your journey?
Yeah, hugely, really. I guess a couple of things my family's a working class family. So my mum came from a working class family. My dad also with the same ethic. My dad passed away when I was 11.
Wow.
And I think what's shaped me is the combination of my mum and my dad having not been here. So my mum worked really hard. Like, we grew up, when my dad passed away, what we grew up seeing was my mum work really hard. And she worked a couple of jobs, 2-3 jobs, to make sure that we had what we needed. And she often wasn't present at the sports and things that we did because she was working for us. So that grew our work ethic in us, and an appreciation for work, I think, and a resilience in life, really, is that no matter what goes on, you just need to keep working at what you're doing and keep going. So that resilience was definitely born out of the fact that my mum worked so hard for us to get to where we needed to get to. Certainly it had a big effect on all of us. Like, there's 3 of us, and we're all achievers. We've all been very good at what we've done. We're talking, actually, on Friday night, we had a couple of wines with my sister, and we're talking, Georgie and I have this little private club called the PA Club, which is the Professional Athlete Club.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a little thing that we just have between us. But I was talking to my sister about it, and who is Georgie's mum, and said, yeah, you weren't bad. Like, she's, you know, quite inspiring, actually, because she was the first of us to represent New Zealand. And so as a swimmer, she was very good, and she'd go off to New Zealand, to tournaments across the world, or swimming meets across the world, and wear New Zealand tracksuits. And I said to her, I remember the tracksuit that you wore that had a silver fern on it. And I'd never told her. I said, but it was quite inspiring. I said, as a kid, seeing that in our house was an aspiration we wanted to achieve. So I think that was really, really important, actually, and topical. And I guess the thing that was, I guess, most influential, though, I guess, is in me becoming the man that I am, was potentially chasing the knowledge of my dad. So because we didn't have my dad around, I guess we had family around that was his family. I grew inquisitive about where he's from and what he was all about. And so we had extended family that lived in Tokoroa, and we extended family in West Auckland. And sort of between those 2 spots, we sort of went back and forth to connect with my dad's family. And in that connection, I guess it grew, for me, an interest in where he was from and what he's about. And as a young man playing rugby, I had cousins who had gone before me and started to represent Fiji in rugby, who then said to me, you know, you can too. And so I started to become interested in that. And I guess my pursuit of my dad and the potential to play for Fiji really interested me. And I made some decisions as a young man to pursue that path and to head to Fiji and to play rugby for Fiji and find out about him. And that's an interesting journey all by itself. But that, I guess, has largely developed me to who I am, how I view the world, and who I connect with now.
Amazing. Oh, that first time you would have put on the Fijian jersey would have been something pretty magic.
Yeah, it was magic. It was in 1995 in Cardiff Arms, the old Cardiff Arms Park in Wales. We played Wales. So my debut.
So you had your mum's heritage there as well.
Yes, I did. I hadn't thought about that, but it was amazing. I was a young kid, right? I was 20, 21, I was playing in this test match against these guys who had watched on TV.
Yeah.
And there was a guy, I remember vividly running out there thinking, oh my goodness, this is such a big, amazing stadium. And then running down the field, and there was a famous guy that played for Wales. His name was Jan Evans.
Yeah.
He's become a commentator now and that. But I remember running down the field, chasing him, going, that's Jan Evans.
Hold on a minute.
It was like, oh my goodness, I'm running down the field. But it was all very surreal.
Yeah.
Very surreal experience, the first one. But remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Mm.
My whānau are Welsh and my maiden name is Evans, so I was
really?
going to claim
There you
that's
go.
whānau. You were
There you
chasing
go.
my whānau.
Oh yeah, there. Funny the connections.
Chasing my family down the field.
I wasn't catching him. Far too fast.
You don't have to say that. Own it. Now, with the mahi that you're doing now, so you're in education, you're on the ground, you're at the coalface each day, and I feel like education, I don't know, it's a constantly changing beast at the moment anyway, but I think over the last sort of 15, 20 years, there's been some really big shifts in there. So with you teaching health and PE, talk to us about that whole order model and also the blue zones that you weave in, because I think a lot of people listening, there'll be a lot to learn. If they haven't heard of blue zones, I can't believe they wouldn't have yet, but if you haven't, you're about to learn some cool stuff.
Yeah, well, we have, the model of hauora in our Year 9 curriculum is embedded, is the model of summation jury around te whare tapa whā. So the elements of the mental elements, social elements, spiritual elements, physical elements, they are aspects of that model that are really important. And, the connection piece which is whenua, where you're from, are really important elements to a health model and the overall health of our students. So I find it a really important piece for Year 9s who are coming through school, emerging evolving and into a secondary school space, which is not easy to be in as a young person. But having the ability to be able to ground themselves in some of the things that are actually about them. Yeah. So, yeah, I find health a really interesting subject to teach because it's about life. Yeah. And there's a lot of things about life that can be weaved into a health curriculum across that model. And for me, it's really about them seeing the relevance of it to them and how they can connect to it as they perceive the world and evolve into the world. And school is a really, it's an interesting cross-section of community. It all arrives, right? Everything is at school. Every part of the community arrives at school in various forms. So for them to exist in that space, I think they need a real clear understanding of who they are. Yeah. I start the journey around that model through their own identity and where they're from. So whenua for me is the starting point of that. And then what I do is I like the concept of masi or tapa or ngatu, as it's called in different islands, and talk about the specialness and show them the specialness of what a tapa is or masi is, and how it is made from its growth of a plant into a pulp and a sort of paper, to the printing of it and to the connection of it, and then into expression of it through the community and how it's utilised in various ways, to show them that is a special and significant piece of something that is unique. Then translate that to them as they are special and unique and precious to their own people. Yeah. And so trying to establish that as an identity piece for them, and then let them express to me who they are through the expression of themselves in a sort of a templated way that they then come back to me and tell me who they are, allows us to create a platform and a piece to talk from for the rest of the term that we have them. So, yeah, I find health really, really interesting, and a really important piece of the school puzzle as a young adolescent. Yeah.
And I don't know if you do, I'm sure you do anyway, but that's the stuff you also want to keep revisiting, because there's I think there's that huge growth period between Year 9 to Year 13 of how we change and figure things out, of what we'll tolerate of different friends and, try things. So, continuing to revisit that and go, what's changed about who I am now, or, those but I don't, obviously where you're from never changes, but just checking in and almost keeping it front of mind, because there's some big decisions we make when we're young that we don't really consider our long-term impacts, you know.
Some good and some bad, eh?
Yeah. I was reading a book the other day. It was talking about how most of us think we're the exception, not the rule. And so, like, if someone's choosing to smoke or, you know, that we think we're the exception, how is this decision going to affect my whānau in the long term and me in the long term? And
and it's the decision-making part that you talk about that I think is really relevant.
Yeah.
You know, and we unpack some of the things inside class in various ways. The other day we ran a continuum exercise, and it was all about decision-making, in the context of bullying. And because it's, you know, it can happen in a number of ways, in a number of contexts at school. And we had some great conversations, and it was just simply this is a statement, I agree with it, somewhat agree with it, disagree with it. And along that continuum, we were able to talk about the decisions that the students were making and why they were making their decisions, you know, and the opinions they had, and it's okay to have your own opinion, you know, but it was really powerful. And your decisions, as you talk about, really important part of the growing up of our young people, making good ones, but understanding why you're making it, you know, and that was the key to that lesson. I found it really insightful. The kids are great, kids are smart, and if you can get them to open up and talk to you, which is a challenge all on its own, then they've got so much inside them that they can share.
Because that's it, it's fitting in versus belonging, right? So if I'm making decisions that aren't like true to me or my whānau and where I'm from, I'm trying to fit in. But once I feel really comfortable with who I am and where I belong, then I'm going to make decisions that fit with that, and not, you know, these decisions we've all made. You know, I often talk about integrity. Like, we'd like to say we all have integrity, but there's those moments where we don't speak up when we should have or we could have for someone else or for something that's wrong. And that's often where we're trying to fit in rather than that we feel like we belong.
That's right. I agree. I mean, and the bravery to have your own opinion, you know. You know, that's in essence that health model, right? I'm making decisions for me. I can talk about me. I'm brave enough to speak out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I own whatever consequence or friend I lose on this decision, because I don't need to follow the pack. I love that. I love that. That gives them such a cool grounding. Cool work, Greg. I love that so much. That was, you know, in our house, when I was at school, it was just literally following the book through of diagrams and bits and bobs, you know. We didn't go into the level of depth of that to actually go, who are you and how does this all fit to you? That's awesome. So being a teacher, being a coach, it's an incredibly influential role that you get to hold, and I think it's always a privileged position when you get to be in those spaces. So massive respect for that anyway. But you get to give those great gifts, and as you said earlier, you know, that's a daily thing that you're looking for, a motivation to look for a positive impact. So talk to us about Brad Johnson, because he was a pretty special, impactful person in your life.
Have you seen the Toy Story movie and there's a guy called Sully on it? There's the big hairy guy.
Oh, Monsters Inc.
Yeah, Monsters Inc. Yeah, that's Brad. And so he was the most incredibly hairy big man, right? And I'm pretty sure if you put him in a dryer, he'd come out looking like a Persian cat. And it was really gruff, you know. And he'd walk around and he'd scowl at you, and but he was so caring, you know. So he was an All Black prop. He was an Auckland captain. So he's came with that. He was a large dude, right? So he's imposing, and he would talk like this, you know. So but he had some things about him that were just really important. And I guess to put him in context, who he is, he was the coach of Fiji when I played for Fiji, with the first part of my career. So for the first 5 years, from 95 to 99, he was the coach of Fiji. He had arrived in Fiji in 1994 as a technical advisor to help Fiji, and they were trying to qualify for the World Cup. And the state of Fiji rugby was such that they didn't. So at 1995, they didn't go to the World Cup. So he was then brought on as the head coach in 95, and he went about then reconstructing Fiji rugby and standing it back up because it was in a bad state. So to project forward, what he ended up doing was putting us on a world stage in 1999, and albeit for a few decisions from a referee, we would have been in the semi-finals with the All Blacks.
Wow.
So from going from 95 and not even being at the tournament to that point, now he built that team. And he's just an amazing dude that was brave enough to make a stance on things that were really important for us. Lovable enough to give you love if you show the commitment back to him and the team. Smart enough to understand who was good for the team and who wasn't good for the team. Wasn't afraid to speak and make the hard decisions, and set incredibly high standards around how hard you should try. Right, so he created a metaphor for life for all of us that were involved in that team. And as a result of the environment he wrapped around us and the care he showed for us and the expectations he set and would not bend on, he created this amazing bunch of young men who did some really incredible things on a world stage, and create a bond within that team that was just inseparable, where it's unbreakable. So yeah, just a fan. I mean, here's for me the motivation. He wasn't the only motivation to become a coach, but if I was going to become a coach, I'd be like, I want to be like him. You know, because he just gave us so much, and also gave us a real sense of what it was to be representing something that's bigger than yourself. And so we were there for Fiji, right? The whole of Fiji, every part of Fiji, and every person around the world that was identified as Fijian, we were there because rugby is the sport. You know, there is no, every other sport is played in Fiji, but rugby is the sport. And the country's mood came and went on the success of the team. You know, as it did the sevens team, as we built that into the 15s team, everybody watched, everybody knew, and everybody followed, and everyone had opinions. And he allowed us to navigate that space for this period of time, just in such an incredible way that we only understand his influence and how significant it was once we have got a bit older, and we are now finding ourselves in the same positions that he was, and then we tried to emulate some of the things that he did with us. The significance of him is incredible. We had recently, the Fiji played Scotland in Suva, and we had a reunion of that team, and we had people come from as far as Sweden to be at that event because we dare not miss the event, and it was a time that we were capped. So it was, that you get one of those old little funny tassel caps, there's little big funny peaks, and I'm not sure what they're all about. I'm sure it's an old English tradition, but anyway, international teams have picked this up. And we never got capped at the time, it wasn't such a thing, but we were capped retrospectively. And so we used the Scotland game to meet up, but then get capped and go to the game together. We got to spend 3 or 4 days with each other.
That's so cool.
And we came from all over the world, to see each other. And the moment we saw each other was like we were back together. And Brad was there, our trainer was there, a good chunk of the team was there, and it was such an amazing time. And those things that were created with Brad were immediately there again. So Brad Johnson and his influence on me, significant, man, huge. On every single man that went through that process, equally big, I believe. And the impact that he had was to stand Fiji Rugby back up and put it on a world stage again. And then the things, people that have followed have then, I guess, stood on the shoulders of what happened there. But he was the start of it.
And each person in that team's also then gone to different parts of the world, taking that magic and spreading those values.
I hope so. I've spoken in a number of contexts around some of the things I've learned from Brad, but one of the things is just that, is that take what you can get from the time that you're with a group and make a difference in order for them to carry on the messages that are important with you.
Which comes back to whenua.
It does, and grounding what it's all about. It does.
That's your foundation. I love that. Now, you have lived some really cool highs in elite sport, and you've also had some really tough times within it, particularly around that concussion. So you've had to manage through that, I guess, career ending, wasn't it, with the concussion? And so then sort of talk to us, I guess, about the transition, because for a long time, I work with a lot of athletes, and so there's that time where I'm a netball player, and every question, every stranger I see or person I haven't seen for 20 years is like, how's netball going? And then when you're not a netballer anymore, there's that identity piece that's kind of wrapped up in that as well a little bit. So talk to us about that transition from rugby into the what next.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, there are transitions in life. Every stage of life has transitions, whether that be the end of secondary school or, the emergence into a new environment and moving town, moving houses. There's transitions all over the place, right? So transition is a constant, I guess, within us, but some of the transitions are a bit tougher than others because it takes quite a moment to understand that you're in a transition, then adjust to what the transition's all about and how you evolve. Yeah. The one around rugby, I found to be a tough transition. So, to put a frame around it, you decide to become a rugby player at quite a young age, and because if you're aware enough, that you need to know that you're emerging in your 20s to become something that you are in your 20s because that's your time. So therefore, this process starts when you're in your teens. So therefore, you start working at this process very young. And whether it's conscious or subconsciously, you start working and focusing on that goal from a young age. And I know that I made that decision because I made the decision and started focusing on the things that would get me to the point I got to. So therefore, by the time I finished when I was 30, I had spent 15 years of my life, half my life, trying to be Greg Smith, the rugby player. And I was. And I became Greg Smith, the rugby player, and that was my identity. Everything I did and knew as a young man, adolescent into a young man, was that. I was go to the supermarket, people know who you are as Greg Smith, the rugby player. You go, wherever you go, that's who you are, right? And then I guess, I did end because medically I couldn't be signed off anymore. I sustained far, far too many concussions and played through too many of the things, and I was in a bad state of health. But I remember the drive home after the decision and the conversation I had with the team around not playing anymore. So I was at the stadium. John Mitchell was the coach of the Waikato team, and it was 2004. And I left the stadium no longer a rugby player and drove home to Raglan. And on the drive home to Raglan, I was like, oh my goodness, who am I now? And it was tough. It was a tough thing because I'd spent all my life getting to that point. So I had a couple of things to deal with, I guess, in that year that I'd finished, in that moment that I finished. One was I'm concussed to a point where, things weren't possible. So how do I get better? And then secondly, how do I then pay for life? And then thirdly, who do I now become? So that's a puzzle. Luckily, I think I had a year of pay because I medically retired, so I got paid for a year. So I had the opportunity to go and do a few things like study. I started my MBA at that stage. I kicked into a business. I was trying to build a business around teamwear. Had a license with Canterbury at the time and Lane Walker Rudkin, and Olivia and I were starting a family. That wasn't the plan, but we ended up doing that in that year that I'd finished. So there was heaps to keep me busy, but it was certainly a tough transition, and there was a need to be deliberate in the things I did next in order to occupy my mind, my space, and give me a new focus.
And it created a lot of uncertainty too around the concussion, right? So talk to us kind of about, because you've had to, learn a lot about yourself and about how the brain works and how to do healing. So talk to us about that, because I don't think a lot of people understand.
Yeah. Look, I think that the brain's a fascinating thing, right? It is, there's lots to know, and I'm sure there's lots that is not known about the brain, because it's a complex organ, right? It's complex, and everyone's experience is slightly different. And therefore there's support out there. And at the time that I retired, there's some support out there, but there's a lot of things to be found out by myself. So we went about trying to find out and trying to get better. Yeah, it was tough. There was in the year that I spent post rugby immediately, there was still a whole lot of things that were residual, and the side effects were of it all, and the consequences of beating myself up for a while weren't great, and so we had some trying times. But yeah, I through the process of trying to make myself better, I did find out a lot about myself and a lot about the space around how to regenerate the brain, and how to get on with life. But yeah, it was tough in that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were there any things you had to do for yourself, or like activities to do, or people to see? How does...
Yeah, I saw a lot of people. But what I figured out is that the best version of myself and the one that was going to heal was the healthiest version of myself. And so getting healthy was really important.
Yeah.
I had a concussion recently, I'm pretty sure I
Yeah,
shared that with you. So I was at rugby and here I was as the coach thinking I could jump in with a drill because there was a wrestle run drill. And so I'll jump in the wrestle part because, so I would jump in there, but I took a whack in the head from one of the players. And I was like, far out. And so it was not great. But it was probably the first time, if you compare the two spaces, in the time that I finished playing rugby, there wasn't a lot of help. And I was left to yourself, and I was just determined to get on with life. So I kind of went through the stuff that I was going through and thought, okay, I just can carry on, right? Taking on an MBA, getting twins, growing into life, trying to build a house, get a business. I mean, all the stressful things that you probably don't want to do at once. I did it once,
Of course you did.
So that
twins.
was twins. I find boys at rugby now that talk about just being, I'm so tired. I've just been up all night with their one baby. Let's just look at that. I look at them. I don't have a lot of sympathy.
Yeah.
So
what's it like having two hands for one baby?
Yeah, they do ask. Yeah. I was actually talking about it the other day. They said, how did you do it? I said, I don't know, mate. I said, they were down the hall, and then one would cry, so he'd get up, and then Livy would breastfeed, and then the other one would wake up, and you put one down, and we'd top them up to try and get them to sleep longer. So you'd go and take them back to bed, and then wrap one up, and the next one cries, and so you sort of close your eyes, get up, and off you go again down the hallway, and the 20 steps of down to the room or whatever it was, was just a blur, and continually a blur. And I'd go to work. I mean, I've got vivid memories. Here's the tri-pillow, and here's the twins, right? And I'm sort of like, got to put them back to bed and wrap them up, and here they are. But yeah, I'd go to work, and I was working for work at a rugby with Chiefs, I think, at the time, and I was professional development manager. So my job was a transitional job, and so I was trying to relay the messages I had onto the players. But I would go and have a couple of strong coffees, lie on the desk with my head in my hands, and this thing. 15 minutes, get the caffeine kick in, and then get on with my day, and then go home and back into it.
Oh.
Yeah, it was.
Hats off to twin parents. I reckon.
Hats off to twin parents. It is not an easy. It's not an easy thing to do. But yeah. Then we had a third child within 3 years. So if that wasn't the twins weren't enough, that was
that's outstanding.
So 3 and 3. Yeah. So
Olivia,
it's like into it. Like if we're going to do it, let's just do it properly.
I taught twins, twins years ago, and I was talking to their mum because I was pregnant. Yeah. And I was like, I really hoped it would be twins because twins run in our whānau. Right. And I was like, just wanted that, and then it'd be done. Like, so I always said we'd have two, and then that's it. So I was like, twins would be, and she was like, you want to know what it's like to have twins? And I was like, yeah, like it's so cute. And she was like, you tell me, and so she had a son first, then had the twins, and he was 2 years old. And she said, tell me what you do when you're in a car park and you've got one of the babies in the trolley, and you've managed to get one into the car seat, and then you've got your toddler who you've told to stay beside you, and then the one in the car spews. Yeah. And then the toddler's starting to push the trolley. Like, she's like, where do you... Yeah, what do you do? What's the priority in the moment? Is it the kid that's going to get run over? Is it the vomit? Or is it one in your arms? And I was like... fair call, glad it's one. Like, thank you very much for the visit. Yeah, but she was, because she also then worked in the unit Mothercraft, where a lot of the mums go with their twins when they're not coping and need some support. And she was like, you have no idea. She's like, honestly, when you meet a twin parent, you just say, what can I do for you? Or just help, just grab one. Or that's right. Yeah. It's just the constant busyness, eh? Yeah. You just don't stop moving. Yeah. There's photos, we got, there's photos, and we look so tired. Yeah.
You know, we're just drained. I just remember being tired all the time when people ask what it's like, and I honestly can't tell them because it was such a blur. Like, it was just a blur. And you got through life, you know, and we're doing all these things. To add to the puzzle, Olivia was studying as a physiotherapist in Auckland, and we had a house set up there, and so we were. So all the things that were going on that added to the puzzle, and so she was studying. I don't know how we did it. And we had nannies and bits and pieces and grandmothers and bits and pieces helping with the kids when the study was going on. But we had 2 homes, all these things were going on at once. And we just got through. Stressful. But yeah, it's you know, because you go through life and things are hard at the moment. And then you get out the other end and you think about it and think, oh, I really remember the hard things. But it was just what was happening at the time.
And tiredness wouldn't have been good for your concussion either, would it? In terms of
well, it wouldn't have been, but it's
you just had to do it.
Caffeine became my friend.
Caffeine. There's our recommendation of the day.
Caffeine, can be your friend. It's got these other properties to it as well, health properties, but definitely keeps you awake.
Yeah, definitely holds you in there. This sort of links really well into that vulnerability. I talk about this a lot, but in high performance sport, for a long time, we didn't talk about anything that was hard. So we wouldn't have said if we were tired or struggling. We wouldn't say if things were not okay. And it was kind of that old school mentality, which we've done really well at flipping. And we've got great sports psychologists. We've got great conversations happening now. And yet, I think in workplaces, we still celebrate the burnout sort of mentality, the just keep calm and carry on kind of thing. Or even in school teachers, just hold on to the end of the term and you're working late, getting all your marking done. And it's still not fabulous to talk about from that vulnerability lens of that I'm not okay, or prioritizing self-care sometimes and celebrating that. Yay, you actually went to bed on time and didn't send me emails at midnight, those kinds of things. So around the conversations that you've had, obviously as a working with high performance athletes, with your teaching team, with your students, what would be some of the key messages to anyone listening about actually having those more vulnerable conversations and prioritizing themselves from the lessons that you've had throughout your life so far?
And the lessons I've had in my life, first of all, have been not good ones and they're good ones. And I guess I can compare the two. Recently, I've spent more time caring for myself. So I've tried to be a whole lot healthier and create good habits around health and me. And then there's been times when I've just totally neglected myself, and because I thought that's what was required. And if I can compare the two, there's such a need to prioritize yourself and somehow carve out some time and create moments and habits and things that support you functioning at a level that's good for you. And that's to be determined for everybody. Everyone's level of function and where they want to be is different, right? But I think there's a need to be deliberately going after that, what you set as an aspiration for yourself. Because it's so easy to not do that. It is so easy to, It is, and it's just the analogy of the boiling pot with the frog, and someone once brought that up, and we only realise you're cooked when you're cooked. You don't realise the temperature of the pot is rising the whole time unless you deliberately control the temperature. You're going to cook. I've been at that cook stage a number of times and just thought, far out, I'm just at the end of this. But the difference is in the two, about being really deliberate and then just going with the boil, different approaches. And the benefit of retrospect, and I'm 51 now, I'm a different person in my approach to myself than I am when I was 30, 40, I guess there's different pressures in life too. And you work hard for things like material outcomes, houses and bits and pieces, and you really work hard for that. And so you have to go through a certain amount of pain, but I think in the middle of all of that, you need to still keep prioritizing yourself and keep being the best you can be. My daughter, I got three daughters, my three twins. Two twins. Well, there you go, there's the concussion. Math's not a strong point. But she recently said to me, my daughter Mia, she's starting to be teachers in Christchurch, that they understood when I was under pressure. And I always I did a good job to hide that. they know, you know, people that in your life know
Yeah.
that you're not great and that you need something, but you keep convincing yourself. So you can't hide these things, and perhaps you should just be upfront and go pursue the best version of yourself and the things that actually make you better.
Yeah. And I think it's giving credit to the people who love you too, that they want to be there, they want to help you in pressure times or stressful times. They don't kind of want you to, because so many of us do it, we shut people out and go, we're just going to get through this, and then I'll try not to let everyone out, you know, like pull people down with me kind of thing. But people just want to be there. So it's having those conversations ahead of the pressure, so that when the pressure's on, you know, they're not saying, Dad, what do you need? Dad, what do you need? They know, you know, it might be space or it might be cuddles, you know, whatever it is, but they know what you're going to need when that heaviness is there.
Yeah, I think so. I think being okay, being vulnerable, you know, and just opening yourself up to that and saying, you know, it's okay that I'm not the toughest dude, and it's okay that I just shoulder things without having to worry too many people about it. They're being affected anyway, you know, they are being affected.
Yeah, and kids are so perceptive. They know.
Yeah, the kids are perceptive. Kids are very perceptive. More so, I mean, as I learn at school how smart they are, and you stop and reflect on your own kids, kids are intuitive. Yeah. They understand.
Yeah. Right, so we're going to swing back into NPC now with your time with Ross Filippo, because he laid you down a bit of a challenge, you and your team, and I love this. So talk us through it. I won't even say what we were going.
So Ross, I find Ross a really interesting man, and he creates a narrative within the team, and he tells the story along the course of a season. And last season's narrative is around atomic habits and the importance of building habits. And he talked to us about the construction of habits, what habits were, replacing things that would create new habits, stacking the habits. He talked about the process of building habits, and he talked to the team about it. And he talked about it to the players within the context of their lives, and then at the end of the season, and got the players to talk to each other about their own habits and their lives. And then near the end of the season started to talk about the transference of habits into how we play rugby. And because of that, how we become better at lives in rugby. So then he challenged the players, the coaches. You need to do the same. Like, we can't just be the same version of ourselves if we're asking the players to be a better version. Ross had this photo of himself when he was with the Chiefs at 146 kgs with a clingy polo shirt on. The polyester that you wear like this, right? Not a flash photo. The wind was blowing, it was sort of sucked to his body, and he goes, goodness me, here's a photo. He's now 118 or 116 kgs or whatever it was. He's lost 30, he's lost a lot of weight. And he's demonstrated through that process of time how it is to commit to being better. So at that point of him starting to be vulnerable with a photo of himself, so we all were, because none of us were in great nick. Because, and as aging men, middle-aged men, we were like, oh goodness me. So it was a bit of we need to get better at this. So, and I found the process of habits really interesting. And so I started to engage in my own habits, and started to create a few things for myself. So I have a mantra around win the morning, and then win the day. And so I started to create some morning habits for myself, and went on a bit of a health journey with the encouragement of Ross to see if I could get a bit healthier.
So tell us, so what were some of the habits, strategies or routines that have come into play?
I started to research this, and I listened to the Diary CEO, and he was talking to Stephen Bartlett, was talking to some really interesting people, who then took me on to Win Hoffman, and there was a few others, and started to follow, and I started to become a podcaster. So I'd listen to a lot of things and pick out the eyes of those podcasters, what were the things that were working for them. So I came across turmeric. So I now have a morning routine. So I wake, and I'm an early riser, so 4:35 I'm awake.
Me too.
I'm up and I'm into it, And the first thing I do, I hydrate with salted water.
With salted water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently water alone doesn't do it for you. Apparently that you need salt in your water. So, so I don't buy the flash salt that they suggest you should buy, but my Himalayan pink salt, sea salt, and it goes into a glass of water much like this.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I do. I then gelatin to restore my joints.
I was going to say
Old-fashioned ground up horse hooves.
Yeah.
Go into my horse hooves, and so I've found some reprieve in doing that, and my joints feel a lot better. I take a fish oil and a black seed oil.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the first thing I do. And I've just recently started to eat a clove of garlic.
Yeah, that's brave.
A raw clove of garlic. So chop it up. And it goes, for the first 2 days, I was going, can you smell my breath?
Yeah.
Like, am I smelling like, so I got to go to school and deliver, right? And so if I'm smelling like garlic in front of the kids are like, wow, who checked this dude out?
In 20 years, when they talk about you, like, remember Mr. Smith with that garlic?
The old garlic breath Smith. I'm like, oh, that can't be the guy. Anyway, so I do. Then apparently when back in the day the garlic was antibiotic, and there's some science behind it. And I've read the science. It's really interesting. So anyway, garlic down it goes. Then it's a turmeric, hot turmeric, ginger, pepper, apple cider vinegar, honey, and lemon. And that's my drink every morning.
Oh.
And it's great.
All the goodness in
it's
one
great.
place,
It's awesome. So down it goes. So every morning I'm into it.
Nice.
And so I try to get that on board to start my day, as well as make my bed, have a cold shower. It's cold this morning. It was cold. It was hard this morning, but I was in there for 2.5 minutes this morning, trying to breathe away. And then I have a breathing routine, and so I go outside and breathe and ground. So the whole process takes about half an hour. Yeah. From get up to sort of get ready, but it's the little process. It's my repetition in my day. It's me winning the morning. It's me getting ready, and after all of those things, I feel ready to go, and I feel like I've won my morning. Then off to work I go, and so that's become my habit, my morning routine. Yeah. And then I've got mates we're all into different things at the moment. There's a soft 75 or medium. There's a hard 75 and a soft 75. And we're doing a medium 75.
Medium.
And then
I didn't know this was graded.
Yeah, it is, because it's for, you got to, because we're all, none of us are in best nick at the moment. Yeah. So, I think it's a thing.
I'm going to Google this later.
I think there's a hard, there's a medium. I'm pretty not, I might have made up a soft one. But then there's a, for prostate cancer at the moment, there's do 379 press-ups a month. So we've just gone, we'll do 3,000, we'll do 100 a day. So we're into 100-day press-ups. So we send videos of ourselves. And if my mate watching Dean, he's in on this thing, my best mate since I was 11 years old. Yeah. He needs to do press-ups, and he hasn't been sending his evidence through. The rest of us have been sending videos through daily. So I hope I'm going to send him a copy of this. He's now on record that he hasn't actually done his part.
You've been called out, mate.
He's been called out, mate. He has. He sent us one video of him doing his. So we try to daily send ourselves through us doing our 100 press-ups. But we're into different things. Yeah. So there's a bunch of us who keep ourselves honest and old and just on track.
Yeah.
But I find the habits. I'm tuned as a person who's been in performance sport to have habits. Yeah. And to have routine. And I find that really useful in terms of setting myself up, and it makes sense to me. Yeah. And also understand, the need to have repetition and keep at those habits in order for you to get an outcome, and realise that you don't, your biceps don't grow from the first bicep curl you do. You got to do
devastatingly.
Devastatingly. Because if I did, I've lifted heaps at once.
Yeah.
So I understand that. So it makes sense to me that we have to go after these things deliberately, and repetitively, and it's a daily thing. Yeah. So your habits are good. I mean, it's really the prompt from Ross came as a reminder to us that we have to be what we want our players to be. Yeah. And we need to live that example, and then to sort of demonstrate to each other we can also do it, and we commit to the cause, and so we're living he's asked us to do, but also it's a reminder that we must be healthy as we grow and older, and that we are no longer young men, and we deliberately need to go after our health and feel great. I've lost about 12 kgs. I feel good. I'm running around at school. I'm faster than most of the kids. It's a Fijian.
I'm going to call that out. I'm going to need some evidence of that.
Okay, evidence. So we play. I'll get it. We're playing turbo touch at the moment. We're doing a turbo touch unit, and well, maybe one or two kids I beat.
Here we go. Yeah.
Not all of them.
There's going to have to be some clauses.
I'll send some through so you can attach it to the podcast. Something, it's a bit of sidestep and scoring a try.
Oh, it's priceless. It is though. It's that consistent, but trying to make it sustainable. So not going. I think that's one of the biggest fall downs is our 1st of January goals or whatever we do. Like we set ourselves up, but we don't set ourselves up for that long game. And there's that saying, when you look back, you go, "Oh man, I wish I planted that tree 10 years ago." Well, if you didn't, then today's the next best day to.
That's right.
To do it and looking at that long term. It's not about dieting for 30 days to fit into a dress for a particular event and then. Smashing yourself afterwards. It's what's actually going to be that consistent approach long term. Like all of those daily habits, those are things you've got to carry on long term. Not just be like 75 medium or soft. We're going to do these things and then give it up. Like what are those things that are going to carry us through that? Yeah.
The dieting to fit into a dress I've never done.
Don't lie to me, Greg. Don't lie to me, son. Are there any habits that anyone listening, because obviously we're all different, so I'm not saying eat a you're going to tell everyone to eat a clove of garlic every day, so I don't know we're all going to go for it, but what would be your advice to someone, not necessarily just a habit they should try, but is there something that you've seen over your time so far that most people will be like, oh, I could never do that, but actually just giving something a try? I think actually giving anything a try is a great start anyway, but is there something that you'd be like, I'd tell people to give this a try?
It's a really good question. I think just being courageous enough to commit to something and fully commit to something. The notion of 30 days to fit into a dress, it's a good analogy around how we approach things, right? But because it should be a short-term fix and I've done it and there you go. But I think what people should be pursuing is things that have a much longer effect on you, and it's a little bit more enduring than just that short-term fix. I think they should be going after that, which is what I've matured into to start to think. Because you used to live life campaign by campaign. And so that's that short-term fix analogy. But I think now that I'm older, and more of a goal to live a quality, longer life, then I think the deliberately going after something for a sustained period of time is maybe the challenge that we set ourselves.
I like that. Right, you've been challenged, Whānau. We're laying it all down today. We've got some videos coming in for evidence. We've got challenges going out. I love it.
Goodness me.
And he's going to send us a beep test running against his kids.
A speed test.
Really? Eh?
Speed.
Speed test. What do we not beep test?
No. Well, I could do, but what I have done is become faster than my students.
All right. So you have led in some really diverse cultural spaces. So you've been in the New Zealand rugby space, you've been in Fijian rugby space, you've been in Japanese or the Japan rugby space as well. So from all of those learnings and the experiences, what have you learned about that cross-cultural leadership and sort of empathy across, and even through your teaching as well?
It's a good question. It really is a good question. And I reflected on this, having read the questions, and I think is the key thing for me is to stop and listen and look and take in the context and understand where you're operating, and to understand what it is that's actually going to make a difference. Because my frame of reference is not everyone's frame of reference, and how I operate is not how everyone operates. And you need to be able to understand what's appropriate where you are and how you make a difference to anything based on the framework you're working within. And I'd probably give the Japanese context is an example of that. Is that Japan rugby is a really hard environment to exist in for a long time. You go in there with people go in there with the perceptions around Japan rugby, and they're going to make a difference, and they're going to do it this way, and this way is their way. Well, Japan rugby is successful because it's got its own way, and you need to be able to understand what their own way is all about before you start trying to tell them how they should be doing it differently. I was very lucky, and this has really become apparent to me because of my experiences at Teikei University. And the big boss there he's a very intelligent man. He teaches psychology at university as well as being the head of the rugby club.
Yep.
And so him and I worked together for a long time, and we were really successful. But what I learned from him was how Japanese people think. And so because he was a psychologist, he was able to tell me that what the influence of the emperor and the hierarchical structure in Japan, how that worked, who was at the top, who was at the bottom, how these things worked, how the families worked within that, how education works within that, how young people think within that, and therefore how should we coach them. And so he was able to help me understand that what happens on the grass really is a reflection of what goes on in the whole of society. And unless we consider those factors, we are not going to be successful. So we looked at an evolving society in Japan and how the young people were thinking, and then we reflected that in our coaching pedagogy, and we were hugely successful. Teikei University, I've been there for 15 years. We've won 12 national championships, and so people have struggled to come second in some occasions because of the approach that we've taken. And so I learned a lot about stopping to listen, and to look before talking, and before assuming that my assumptions and my thoughts were the ones that were the important ones. And I think I can therefore transfer that into the other contexts that I've operated in, whether they be Pacific Island, New Zealand, Japanese, other Asian countries. But stop, listen first, and then take in what's required, and then go about trying to work in that space and add value in that way.
Amazing, and that's hopefully everyone listening is going to take that on, because how often we almost come in heavy-handed. Like if you get just a new job in general, you're like, I'm going to put my own swing on this, or my take on this is this person needs to go, this person needs to go, and this. But we actually haven't just taken it all in and tried to actually get the context that's in front of us, and all of the background things and the inner workings.
Yeah, I think so. It's transferable to to a lot of things I see.
Yeah, even with your students, right? Like what's
absolutely.
happening just in the classroom is so much more at play than how they're presenting, that's contributing to it.
Yeah, that's right. What's their background?
Yeah.
So in school context, and you'd know this too, but parent interviews are a really interesting time. I love it. And not only do I get to tell the parents that, is this your note because your daughter's been presenting with this note, and that's surely not your signature. The horrifying, and handing over about 10 of them, going, there you go, can you take those home and sort those out? But learning a lot about who turns up and how they why they are who they are, and if you understand that more clearly, how much more impact you can have because you understand that. Yeah.
Which brings me right back to that Tina movie, right? Like with
Tina,
the dad that was really hard on the son in there, and the girl who had, like all those things. If you don't know what's going on for a kid and the pressures that have been put on, or the expectations, or the lack of, all of those things, matters.
It matters. It does. I mean, people don't exist in isolation. They exist in the community and with the ecosystem that they set up for themselves or around them. You have to understand a bit more about them first, I think.
I love that. Right, got one more question for you. So each interviewee asks the next interviewee a question. So if you want to read this one out for us, and then that's your answer.
What would you want people to say about you when you retire? What's your legacy, Melody Robinson? That's an interesting question. trying to think through the context. Look, I think that what's important to me is people perceive me as just someone that helped them move forward, in an honest way that reflects who Greg Smith is, really. I have a clear idea of who I am, and I'd like people to understand that, like I do with Brad, the things that had affected me, that people see that in themselves, and they can see that there's some value in what I've had, the impact in them. When I retire, I'm just trying to think through an age what that means.
Another 15 years-ish.
Is it? I'm 50.
Dun, dun, dun.
I actually don't see myself retiring. That's something interesting I find.
That's probably that hard work ethic, right?
I don't see myself stopping.
Yeah.
I've got a retirement plan in mind. I'm going to start soon, but yeah, my legacy. I think, look, I value work ethic. I value integrity. I value loyalty, and those are things that are really important to me. And I think if people see that in me, then they can therefore understand that it's important also to be like that, and that they carry those things forward. And through those values, achievement is possible. And in anything you set your mind to, you can go and achieve. So, if that's, I'm not sure it's a legacy, but it's certainly what's important to me. It's certainly what I talk about to my kids every day. I hope my kids at school, my students at school, see that. That doesn't hurt to work hard and be who you are. I think that's what I'd like to leave behind.
I love that. And it's evident just from our kōrero today, like even with your friends group chat and the push-ups videos, like you're helping each of those people, whether they're your friends or at school or rugby or in your whānau, like you're part of changing their legacies as well, just by being that support and challenging them to be their best versions of themselves as well. So it's pretty special.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you've been involved in high performance sport, and you know that achievement only comes from hard work and commitment, right? I think we all have the potential in us. Yeah. I think everyone has the potential to be excellent. They just got to choose to want to. Yeah. And if they choose to want to, then the actions follow. I really believe, and this is something that's important to me, and hopefully this is enduring in me and the others, people that I connect with, is that you need to choose deliberately to be something. If you choose deliberately to be something, you can therefore be that. However, the hardest thing is the choice. You can choose to do it the easy way, you can choose to do it the hard way, you can not make a choice. Yeah. But by inaction you achieve nothing, but by action you achieve a lot. And so I do think that's really important that people understand that. Yeah. And be deliberate in the things they choose to do. And through that, you get the potential to do whatever you want.
It's that do word, right? Like you choose to do, like you actually have to do the doing.
Yeah.
Day in, day out. Even when you don't have motivation, it doesn't matter. Roll out of bed and go do the thing you said you were going to do. I often joke about yesterday me is way smarter than today me. Like yesterday me knew I had to get up at 4:15 to go to the gym. Yeah. Today me is really dark at her, but yesterday me knows better. Go. Like, she set the alarm for a reason. Go. Rather than go, just snooze it for another 10 minutes. Like, you set these things up.
Yeah.
Do the doing.
You do the doing. Just to reflect on a moment, do the doing, the 4 a.m. sort of thing. When I was a kid, the alarm, we swam. Yep. And so we all swam. And the alarm went very early. And the horrific sound of the alarm at about 5 a.m. in the morning, whatever time it was, it was still dark, we're just little kids, and the alarm went off, and the alarm, that noise, that old school alarm, of which one morning I crept into my mum and dad's room, turned the alarm off, because I'd had enough. We all woke up at the same time anyway, because we're dialed to. Habit. Yeah. But we deliberately got up as a family, and deliberately went off into the dark to train. Yeah. And that's never left me. Phenomenal. So we learned to work when we were little. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time today, Greg. There's been so many awesome things that have come out of this. I'm still looking forward to videos coming of your speed testing. But to everyone listening, there is so much to take away. But I think some key ones is just take ownership of your own journey.
do the doing, set yourself up, make those choices, and do it every day. Try and be the best version of yourself and just chip away at it. But thank you very much, Greg.
Yeah, pleasure, Des. Thank you.
And ka kite, we will see you again next time.